Hi, welcome to News Shoes. I'm Dane Pace,
Colin Karkosh.
The other David.
and this week we have another guest. As you can see, we have two. Is an old friend of mine and fellow Trek aficionado, Lindsay.
Hey, I'm Lindsay.
There we go.
Well,
Lindsay.
I thought you were gonna say my name
No,
first,
no,
and so
no.
I was waiting a second.
Honestly,
Okay.
I honestly, is it Graves? Is it the last name Graves? Because
Yes.
it could be French, it could be like Grave or something
No,
crazy like that.
it's English.
And that's
It's really simple.
okay. Well, I'm prone to messing up simple things, as we've already learned today.
Well, compared to my maiden name, this one is a lot easier.
I like shop. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well,
If I had
everyone
it-
pronounced it wrong.
If I had a choice, I would have kept shop. But so this week we're doing something a little different. Last episode we talked about having Jake and Nick here. That was false. I did the math wrong, and it's next week that they're showing up. So we decided to do a little filler episode and do a commentary, something we've been talking about doing for a while, and it's on Star Trek. It's specifically the episode Trouble with Tribbles. It's a fun one. It's an episode you really don't need any prior knowledge of Star Trek. I realized that you don't you just have to understand the basic idea of Star Trek, and you'll be fine.
And you just have to know the characters, and that's about it.
Yeah, and you'll pick up fairly quickly who they are because they're all distinctive in their look and personalities.
That's for sure.
I didn't realize how how funny Spock is with his deadpan delivery of things. It's so good, especially in this episode. But
Yeah, I think this might be my favorite one that I've seen.
this one and City on Edge of Forever are both really good, and City on Edge Forever is just a really good idea and topic. So, and that's one reason why I was debating on doing that episode. But anyhow, we digress. We opened the show up with some notes, or not notes, news, and there wasn't much news this week. The most notable, I think, is Martin Freeman has joined the Marvel Universe. He's going to be in the new Captain America movie.
hmm
Oh, dude, I missed that one.
Yeah. No one knows what he's going to play. I suspect he's going to be either a parent or a lawyer. Are you familiar with the story arc of Civil War?
Sort of.
I don't know who he's going to play either. I've heard it might be sort of like a lawyer for the government, so that he can kind of bring in these masked vigilantes. So we gotta wait years to find out.
Given the type of characters he's been playing, especially recently, that would make sense.
He's all over the place because he was in The Hobbit. He was in. Oh come on! I was thinking about he was Hitchhiker's Guide.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, he's in Hitchhikers. He's in Sherlock, which brings up to the point that you have two Sherlock Holmes and one Watson in the Marvel universe now. Now all we need is get Jude Law, and got both of them.
Right?
But you're not familiar with the idea behind Civil War, are you?
Not particularly.
Okay.
Marvel is one of those that I haven't really dove into.
So the idea is Tony Stark, after seeing some troubles, like what happens, kind of goes to the government and says, hey, I think everyone needs to unmask themselves. Everyone needs to sign up for a registry. From what I understand. David or Colin's actually a better person to explain this, to be honest, because I haven't read the story. I've just seen kind of summaries of it.
Yeah,
Well, what happens is like the Human Registration Act, superpower registration. They're trying to get all the masked superheroes to identify themselves, which of course sets up a pretty big split between those that are willing and those that are unwilling, with Spider-Man on one side and Captain America on the other.
Yeah.
And it leads to an honest-to-goodness battle with who's going to take responsibility for the damage caused by the supers. And it gets pretty rough.
Yeah. And that was one reason why all the comic book nerds and the Marvel fanboys was so happy that Marvel got the rights back to Spider-Man. And that's why he's going to be in the new Captain America movie. Because he does play.
I think I've seen a couple of references for that.
He does play an important part. Tony Stark actually makes him an armor suit, the Iron Spidey, which is one of the coolest Spider-Man costumes out there. It's just really cool.
Yeah.
Like everything about that costume is really cool. So there's that news, and then there's something that DC did, and they're doing. They're doing a thing called promo packs, and the idea is starting in June, if you order from retailers who order 5 copies of every one of DC June's mini relaunch titles, they get a package, and each package, and they're doing this monthly, looks like, contains various things from stickers to tattoos to posters to masks. Like the one for June has a like a Darkseid versus Anti-Monitor fight poster, like you'd see for a boxing match. A Batman Beyond mask, and looks like a Bizarro sticker. 100 Batmite temporary tattoos. June's looks like it's going to have a schematic for the new Batman armor, a greeting card from Key West with Starfire on it, Gotham Academy sticker. I mean, just cool little grab bag type stuff. And they're just sending them to comic book retailers just for ordering 5 of their books.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of cool. It's kind of like the idea of the loot crates and the boxes that these companies are sending out for people with these subscriptions, just from cool stuff. So I like the idea. I think it's kind of cool. I'd like to see more of it because I'm a big I like cool posters, and the idea of like having the new Bat Armor schematic is kind of cool on my wall. We haven't done this section in a while, but since Colin and I are both reading the same book, I'm going to delve back into Pull Me Off the Shelf and talk very briefly about Grant Morrison's novel. Not really novel, but the book he wrote. It's a book. When I think novels, I think fiction or nonfiction. Yeah, fiction. I think fiction. And
this is more of just his commentary.
yeah, that's the best way to put it. It's a commentary on and historical look at comics from his perspective. Like, and it's really cool. I mean, it has cool little moments about the histories and the creation of characters and interesting ideas on them. At one point, Colin is kind of skipping to whatever he feels like at the moment. He's doing the Tarantino effect on the book, and just like, and he's like, "Oh, this looks interesting." He starts reading about that. I'm just going straight forward through it, taking my time and reading it. But it's divided up real nice. It's I think 4 sections. Yeah, 4 sections. The Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Dark Age, and the Renaissance of comics. And each section talks very specifically about certain things, from Batman, Superman, to the creation of Captain Marvel, Wonder Woman, the ideas behind these characters. And I like it so far. I really do. I think it's an interesting read, especially if you really like comics. It's also a sort of autobiography of the guy, and so you get some stuff about his background and his past and stuff that he's done, and where he was in his head when writing some of this stuff. Definitely an interesting read if you like comics.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you don't care for comics, it wouldn't really be that big of a deal. Like, it's just a book about a guy babbling about comics. But there are some interesting ideas in it that I do like. I think he brought up a point that, like, your one thing that you didn't like about that you don't get about the Green Lantern, Green Arrow team up.
Oh yeah, I even have it marked in the book. Let's see, where is it? My problem with it, well, I'll just keep reading it. Let's see. Essentially what had happened was, like, Green Lantern was, like, talking with Green Arrow, and this African American, or it even says, this elderly black man who turned out to be less impressed with our hero's showy antics and had this to say: "I've been reading about you, how you work for the Blueskins, and how on a planet somewhere you helped out the Orange Skins, and how you've done considerable for the Purple Skins. There's only one skins you never bother with, the Black Skins. I want to know how come. Answer me that, Green Lantern." My problem with that was, like, what Morrison points out is, in any real world where the laws of physics and some interstellar immortal judiciary permit his existence, the Green Lantern's response would be all our responses to the same accusation. I've been saving the entire planet Earth, and everything living on it, regardless of race, color, political affiliation, or species, since Green Lantern issue number 1.
Yeah,
That's essentially what the whole problem with my problem with that one story is.
and it's a valid point. And we also have to keep in mind what the topics they're trying to handle. Like they were trying to push the bar of what like is okay to talk about in comics and stuff like that, and try and bring up awareness. But with that said, it is a valid argument as to why that makes no sense. He's saving the whole world, and you're complaining. That's just being selfish and stingy.
Yeah.
That's really all we got for news and extra stuff. So, without further ado, we can kick off this show. The TV show, not the show that we're doing right now. We have it booted up on Netflix right now. At the 0 mark, I'm assuming everyone has at the 0 mark. We good?
Yep.
Yep.
And whenever David comes back, hopefully he'll... Oh, there he is. Cool. Ready?
Ready.
Yep.
Cool. And 3, 2, 1. All right. So I'm still getting the loading screen real fast, but so Trouble with Tribbles, a great Star Trek episode. Full of some are like there's just some really good witty one-liners from Spock in this episode. Like, and it's just him just being him.
You know, things about this episode that are kind of important is it's the first episode that went into comedy, something that Star Trek's not real known for. Also, it's one of the first and only of the original series that actually relates to another episode, which is also really weird for the original series. That a lot.
Something to note. First, this opening scene when they're talking about the history of things, Chekhov gets some information wrong, and later on in the episode he gets some information wrong again. Now, at first, when I saw this morning because I watched it earlier, I was wondering, is they're implying that the USSR never fell, and that the government has changed the history books to make them appear better? Is that what happened?
Chekhov's obviously Russian, and he's got a severe amount of Russian pride.
Yeah.
Quite often through the series, a lot of things are done from his prideful perspective, and this is one of the first couple of instances where he actually brings it up. Chekhov was brought in to try to bring the Europeans in and the young crowd, where they talk about a lot of "we've done it better." And that's where a lot of his stuff comes from.
Yeah,
Chekhov was also.
Oh, go ahead.
Chekhov was also highlighted in this episode for another reason. They actually highlighted him pretty bad to compensate for the fact that one of the other series regulars was going to be missing. George Takei, who plays Sulu, was off filming Green Berets with John Wayne during this period, which is why he's kind of thin through most of season 2. But he was definitely gone during this whole period. So they highlighted Chekhov, and they had to give him a personality. It was the best one they could come up with.
Yeah, like that. The best one they can come up with. When the first time I heard about Tribbles was actually after I seen the movie Critters, which very closely resemble each other, and I had watched it. My mom's like, it's like, oh, it reminds me of Tribbles. Like, Tribble, what the hell of Tribble? And well, I was like 5, so I didn't say that, but like Tribble, and she explained to me this like what it was. It's a little furry ball. I'm watching the remastered version, so you have the because that's what's on Netflix. So you have all the visual updates, which is nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. It's like
I can only imagine like what the original like shots of space, the space stuff will look like especially like floating around the space station.
Well, most of the changes between the original and the remastered were subtle. This one didn't require a lot of changes. They cleaned up the look of the Enterprise. They used the CGA model. They cleaned up the look of the space station. They animated the ships around the station, which didn't exist. A little bit later, when they go into the administrator's office, you can see the Enterprise through the window. It was the original model that was made by AMT Corporation and mass produced. They built it, just hung it in the window by a string. Well, the remastered, they actually moved the image of the Enterprise.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of the little funny quirks that happen, and most of the rest of it is actually no real change at all. This had actually one of the smallest amounts of CGI adaptation that was done for the remastered. It was all mainly just cleanup shots.
The green like shirt that he's wearing right now. What's up with that? Like
there were two primary uniforms that Kirk wore. In the original series, most of the first season, he was a lot trimmer, leaner. He was wearing the yellow outfit. When he got chunkier, that's a polite way to phrase it, they gave him a green wraparound, which was supposed to be more forgiving to his stouter frame.
I don't think so.
It wasn't.
I had noticed that. Yeah.
Well, the only reason I'm bringing it up is his communicator badge is in a different spot, and when I first saw this, like, where's his communicator? And you don't see it, but like until you see like this shot right here, it's down here.
I just saw it,
and I think it's what's actually holding the costume together. Like it almost looks like it's on a strap that keeps everything together.
And that's actually a funny thing that you say that. At this point, they weren't communicator badges; they were ship's identification badges, similar to the ship's patches.
Yeah.
In the 30th anniversary episode, when it's a time travel episode that goes back to Trouble with Tribbles, one of the characters from in the future taps his shirt where that badge is, because in the later seasons, DS9 and TNG, the communicators are on the shirts. So he taps his shirt, but of course there's no communicator, it's just a ship's badge then.
Huh.
But yeah, that's one of the interesting things is they moved the ship's badge, and it does look like it's holding his shirt together, where he was actually sewn into the outfit, like most of them were. That also got rid of the black undershirt that a lot of the other characters wear.
Yeah. So you show off that hairy chest.
Shatner was... Yeah, he was supposed to be a sex symbol during this period in the 60s. And there's a joke that was parodied in the Tim Allen movie.
Oh, Galaxy Quest.
About losing his shirt. Kirk frequently got his shirt torn, especially earlier on when he was in better shape. And in the Tim Allen movie, Space Quest, or Galaxy Quest, they parodied that same problem again.
You know, I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I feel like I'd greatly appreciate it more that I'm older and understand more, get more of the jokes that they're referencing. I like it when it first came
I'll
out.
rewatch that since same thing here. I understand more references now, I'm sure.
Like it's just one of those things I appreciated it back then. Like, you know, look, yeah, I enjoyed it. But I think I would really enjoy it more now. Like, significantly more. It's like when I went back and watched Jaws a couple years back and older and more had actually been at sea and stuff like that. Like, I got a lot of stuff, like the whole Indianapolis scene where they're talking about the sharks. Like, I just comprehended everything. I knew exactly what was going on. It wasn't just a couple guys babbling. And when they started talking about scars and tattoos, it's like, well, that's what you do at sea. So, like, how'd you get that scar? Well, like this. So.
Okay, quick question, because I had to change videos. Where exactly are you guys at? That way I can make sure I'm in the same spot.
Uhura and Chekhov just walked into the bar, which sounds like a joke.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say
Navigator
the dealer
ahead
just
than I thought.
walked in for me.
Yeah, the dealer just walked in, and they're discussing the wheat.
Okay.
I'll kind of chime in
Oh,
when I
I've
read
seen
first see
it.
a Tribble.
The Tribbles are about to show up.
Yeah.
What's funny is a lot of the things that the bartender and the trader Cyrano Jones talk about are referenced again in later episodes. The gems that he shows them and the glow water that he shows them, and the Tribbles, which was such a throwaway item here, actually appear in many other places.
All right,
DS9
never mind. He
did
just
a whole
pulled.
Yeah. There's
Don't
really-
mind, he just pulled
DS9
out
did
the
a
Tribble.
tribute
Yeah.
episode. The animated series did an episode. It's been in a couple of comic books. Tribbles show up in Enterprise in a throwaway aspect. So those little fuzzballs.
I like how they were used in Into Darkness. I thought that was fun. Just to have the Tribble in a big movie like that.
Um,
Yeah, it was because of
It-
that I
it-
went and made sure that I watched all of these. That way I could see exactly what they were referencing in the original.
I still haven't seen Wrath of Khan, but I've seen the episode. Yeah, I've never seen Wrath of Khan. I know, but I've seen the the original appearance of Khan, so I've seen that episode. So
Yeah,
like,
I've seen
it's,
that one.
Not Mirror Mirror, it's not Enemy Mine because that's a movie.
Space Seed.
Space Seed, that's it. But yeah, Space Seed, that's a good one.
and
And because of
and Space Seed leads on to Wrath of Khan,
Yep.
which is Search for Spock, which is Voyage Home, which is Into Darkness. So that cascades on.
Yeah. The bartender and the trader, I feel like, and this is again me probably looking too deep into it, the way they're haggling and stuff. I see a Middle Eastern man and a Jewish man. That's all I see. Like I see where they come from. I mean, traders. Like you've been to the Middle East, you know how they are, but that's how they are. And
I mean, you've got a merchant whose sole life depends upon how much money he can get for his product, and you've got a merchant whose sole life is how cheaply can he buy a product so that he can resell it at a markup.
yeah.
And which is the scene we're looking at now is the trader and the barkeep trying to come to an agreement over a price
Yeah.
so that the barkeep can turn around and sell it. And of course, the trader gives the first Tribble away to try and set the
Advertise
market
it, yeah.
up so that everybody else will want one without knowing how badly the market's going to get flooded with these little fuzzballs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of in jokes that show up that only the true aficionado or someone who is around at this time period would know. The bartender was in a series of commercials about selling liquor. So when he showed up in Star Trek as a barkeep, it was a funny.
Oh, okay. That is funny.
The trader is an actor who spent a lot of his time in Old West type movies in the traveling salesman type role.
So it's more,
So
it's
to
more
see
of a
these two
cast
again,
typing type of thing.
yeah, it's typecasting.
Yeah.
Cast
typing. Hey, red shirts.
Yeah,
Human souls.
This episode does have one of the bizarre instances of not a red shirt dies.
They're like
in
rarely,
the entire episode.
Yeah, they're rarely just a couple in the episode, and they're two guards for the most part. If you don't count Uhura, because I don't think anyone counts her as a red shirt, because it's a skirt, really.
Yeah, red shirt. This episode is also one of the rare times where actors who have shown up in this one actually appear in different roles in different places. And also actors here reprise their roles again in either another episode or another series. It's one of the rare times where the actors repeat. The Klingon captain, Koloth, William Campbell, also played Trelane in Squire of Gothos. His second in command shows up as an administrator in an episode later on. And the villain this episode reprises his role as the exact same character in the 30th anniversary episode, which is the time travel one I referred to earlier.
Wow.
Yeah.
Friggin', for Klingons, these are some dashing-looking rogues.
Which is also one of the rather interesting things. All through the show, the TOS show, all the Klingons look basically like humans with bad beards.
Yeah. But even their beards are nice. I mean, the captain kind of looks like Michael Shannon in Man of Steel. I mean, he kind of looks like Zod.
He does. But anybody who's seen any of the movies know that that's not what Klingons came to look like.
Yeah.
And if you watched Enterprise, not Enterprise, but
DS9
or TNG, Klingons developed the ridges. And one of the big controversies
I definitely noticed the mutation there.
The lack of.
Well,
and for almost.
So this one kind of has like a red mark on his forehead, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and for almost 20 years, after the original motion picture aired, there was a big controversy of why the difference. It was later explained in Enterprise, but it's just one of the things that came up over and over again to on how Klingons changed over time.
Well, having the two different sects kind of works too, because you can have like the agent like there is in this episode, who you don't know is a Klingon until obviously the Tribble flips shit. And it's like it's those things are so I don't know, they're such a simple creature. Like they eat, they're born pregnant.
Prop.
Yeah, like they eat, like they're born pregnant, they eat, and they get pregnant from it. They reproduce. They say bisexually, but they meant asexually, because it just says they start popping out. Essentially, they don't move. They're just there. They kind of breathe.
They actually do move.
Well, they move, but they don't like
things,
traverse. I guess travel. They don't transit.
Oh, they do.
Oh, okay.
They do. It's a little thing, and it'll show up a little bit later. Is on the rail of the Enterprise, they show one walking across the rail, and Kirk picks it up. But most of the time they just sit there and breathe. They took walking toy dogs, cut the heads off, put a Tribble suit on it, and then just let them walk across.
Huh. That's funny.
But
well, considering that they're just kind of multiplying as they go anyway, they don't really have to do much else.
They would be an awesome pet, that's for damn sure. Hey, there you are.
Which leads to one of the jokes in the series. What do you get if you feed a Tribble too much? And it's not a fat Tribble.
Yeah.
But they would be an awesome pet. You pet them, and the sounds they make are supposed to soothe the nervous system, which means a lot of people need to have these things. And they just sit there and they don't bite.
I don't even know how they eat. That's the weird thing. How do they eat?
Never discussed.
They just sort of absorb it.
I really like Scotty's doctor, like his operating variant of the shirt, like the short sleeve version of it, the T-shirt variant of the uniform. I think it's interesting.
Yeah,
That,
his scrubs.
yeah, that he didn't like it. It looks a lot like a scrub. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. But instead of having to roll up the sleeves, they're already up.
Yeah.
I think it looks good. Barris, I think he's a senator. Is that what he is?
He's a Federation Undersecretary for
Yeah,
Agricultural
yeah,
Affairs.
secretary. What is up with that guy? I mean, like seriously. Seriously, he's angry for no reason. I mean, yeah, he feels threatened. I understand that, and he's upset that Kurt is very reluctant on helping because he doesn't think it's near as important as obviously he does. But still, that guy is a hothead for no reason.
Well, he's got one job to do, and that's make sure Sherman's planet gets developed. And Kirk has one job to do, and that's not be a babysitter for wheat.
Fair enough.
And like any politician who thinks he's important, he's all big and overinflated. And Kirk, we've seen it. We've seen these guys.
Oh yeah.
You just want to strangle them and put them back in a place. So Kirk takes some pot shots at him.
Fair enough.
So he questions his intelligence and questions his orders and takes his orders literally.
I just realized that the bartender is wearing wings on her dress.
The waitress.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a little a set of wings on her where bows usually wind up.
Yeah, her waist, below her back.
Yes.
It's more of a question for you, Colin, because I know David knows the answer to this. Scotty here. Why do you think he wouldn't want to go on Scotty? He was very reluctant on going down, take the shore leave. Why do you think this?
Huh. Man, it's kind of putting me on the spot. I'd have to really think about it.
I mean, you're more than welcome to answer too, Lindsay, if you have any ideas behind it. This guy with his Tribble collection.
I don't know. It could have been like maybe maybe he was a recovering alcoholic or something, or he knows like since there's this bar, like maybe he had a bad feeling because we all know there's going to be this brawl in the bar here.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's like maybe he just kind of had like a sixth sense about it.
I think he just likes being on the ship, and honestly.
That too.
He likes his job. He takes pride in making sure everything's working. He didn't want anything to go astray while he's away. So that's my why else would he? And he knows he becomes kind of a party animal. He doesn't want to unwind too much. I don't know.
Well, earlier in the episode, he's asked why he doesn't relax more, but he considers his work relaxing.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah,
or that's
because he's going through like the schematics and stuff. That's right. Huh. That works too.
Since this was remastered, I was kind of hoping. I think it'd be cool if they added they kind of put in the guys from the next gen or not next gen, Deep Space Nine. Since there was that episode when I think it was Deep Space Nine, that they travel back to this exact place. Yeah. And so, for that episode, they bring in this old footage, and then they just kind of put the actors in there.
Oh, so you're hoping that you could see the actors from Deep Space Nine in the backgrounds, that type of thing?
Yeah. And so then it could so it would loop in on itself. But then again, it goes back to it'd be the same problem with that people have with Hayden Christensen in Star Wars 6.
Oh yeah, where he replaces the original guy for Vader.
Yeah. It might be that might have been a problem that they would have come up with for this episode.
You're an avid fan, David. Would you have been upset?
Well, it's a matter of timing. These remasters were made before the 30th anniversary Trials and Tribulations were made, so that these would have to have been Lucased again and remastered to insert the actors in the backgrounds of this episode, and they would have to very carefully match what the DS9 episode did to put them in the right places. Like in the bar scene, there's a major bit where the Klingons insult the Federation.
Happening right now.
And the idea is that the next table over, closer to the camera, is where the DS9 guys are sitting. And there is no real scene from the point of view that would show them.
Jeez, look at those chairs fly.
So they're actually left out. There is one or two minor possibilities where they could wedge the Star Trek guys or the Deep Space Nine guys in, but it would be just rehashes of the Deep Space Nine episode, and that would be remastering the Star Trek remaster with the same scenes that were the DS9 scenes that were Forrest Gumping the DS9 characters into the Star Trek episode. So think of it more. Think of it more this way: you got one timeline, and then it loops back for the DS9 guys, and we're actually seeing the first one. Where if you watch the DS9 episode, you're looking at the second one.
Yeah. Well, it's also like just the reproduction timeline just didn't work. I took a note for this particular scene, the drunken fight, and the note is simple as this: drunk sailors being drunk sailors, and and it really is like it's a bunch of guys, like two tables of drunks, right? They're sitting there talking, mind their business, and then like it could be competing ships. You were on part of a 2-ship fight on a. Like,
it was actually part of a 3-ship brawl, and it was based off pride, which is exactly what this fight's based off. The Klingons insulted Kirk, which they got over, but they insulted the ship, which pissed off Scotty, which started the brawl. And yes, I was part of a 3-ship brawl that was based off ship pride. So this was no problem for me.
Yeah, like it just makes sense.
Watching the bar brawl.
And like it is strange, like the pride, I've talked to people that hated being on the ship, but you can still say like they're very happy and took a lot of pride in the work they did. Bob Pryor's a fine example. Like he says, some of his proudest moments was on Elrod just because of the effort and work it took to keep the ship operating. So I find that interesting. And the last note I have actually is right before this scene right here is also very reminiscent of how I've seen people behave in times of group brawls, stuff like that. No one fesses up to anything. It just started somehow. But the note was Sentiments of a Scotsman. And I think it goes back to the pride thing. One, he's talking about his drink, a scotch, a very English, very Scottish drink. When I think of scotch, I think of Scots. And he takes pride that this is what real man's drink is. Takes pride on his ship. And I think that's very interesting how much pride he does take. Considering that his job is more overseeing things, knowing that he's a Chang. That's all I already got. That was the last of my notes.
What's curious is when Kirk and Scotty are talking about the fight, and of course nobody fesses up for most of it is who started it. When he finally does get the details, it's funny how he says, "You threw the first punch because they insulted the ship, not because they insulted your captain." Whose ego is actually on the line here? Is it Scotty's over the ship or Kirk's over his own sense of self-worth?
Well,
my question to everybody else: would you defend yourself or your car? Would you defend your boss or your car? And that's basically what happened here.
Yeah. Or in this case, your boss's car.
Or your boss's car.
The company car.
The company car.
Yeah.
But you're the mechanic working on the car.
True.
Yeah, and what's funny is Scotty's punishment for getting into a bar fight is the exact thing he wanted all along, and that was to be sent to his room where he could read his books and be left alone. Kirk sending him down to the space station to babysit everybody else is something he didn't want to do in the first place.
I didn't even notice that. I mean, he does bring up, gives me a moment to read my books, I guess. So, they don't address it, but I wonder if the other guys who got sent to their rooms, how long they were stuck there. Because he just says until I find out who did it, and 2 minutes later.
Until further notice,
yeah.
and they were probably stuck there at least until they left that port.
Yeah.
So that they couldn't get in any fights. And I don't know why the fight went on that long, considering there was only supposed to be 12 Klingons on the entire station, and at least a third of the Enterprise's crew had the opportunity for shore leave. At least a third. So the odds were, I don't know, 180 to 1 to 12.
Yeah, but Klingons are warriors. They won't go down easily.
Wow.
And not everyone's going to be in the same place.
Oh, come on. There's one bar on the space station. Everybody's
and it's a small space station, so...
Yeah. I mean, we've been to ports. Even us non-drinkers have managed to find ourselves in the same bar as the drinkers, so...
And you can guarantee that's probably the only place on the whole ship with Wi-Fi.
I don't know. If a space station has it, I think the ship would have it too.
Yeah.
The music of Dagny, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I was hoping that wouldn't come through, but she's literally right next to me with this toy.
Well, it just guarantees this stays a family-oriented show.
Yeah.
Not that we venture off too long.
I know there's a recurring joke every time they bring up the Tribbles about the size of the Tribble in his seat. And is it the comics where there's just a giant one and he has to kind of force out of his chair?
Well, David Gerald, who actually wrote this episode, pitched for season either 4 or season 5 a sequel. It would have been the only sequel in this Star Trek, and they didn't buy it. That sequel actually got remade in the little-known, seldom-seen animated show.
Ah, the animated show.
And they made a safe, non-breeding Tribble. And what it was the Tribble just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger as it ate. And the joke, one of the recurring jokes in the animated show, is a Tribble takes over Kirk's chair, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger till the point where he finally just gives his chair to the Tribble. It takes over because there's nothing he can do.
That's fine.
It is basically a repeat of this episode in theory. Cyrano Jones comes back. He's got Tribbles. He's got a Tribble predator that's supposed to help him keep his population down. The Klingons are trying to sabotage again Sherman's planet and colonization efforts. And the act of the Tribbles and the Predator show up the Klingon plot. Basically a repeat of this thing again. It's another comedy episode. It's one of the few of the 22 the animated that were comedy. Just like this is one of the only episodes in the 79 of the original series it's comedy. It wasn't until late TNG that they started throwing any comedic elements back in, and again it involves a Tribble. And then DS9 threw a couple in, and again Tribbles are involved in the comedy.
It's hard to take anything serious if you have a fuzzball involved that squeaks.
A purring fuzzball.
I was to say it's easy to reference. I mean, it becomes a little bit iconic for being the comedy episode for the original, and so being able to reference back to that it's easy to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot logically it makes sense. Like, well, our humor's grounded around these, so might as well keep that a recurrent theme. But every time they show up, something silly happens. The salesman.
These.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The salesman, Colin. You were looking it up earlier. He appears in '66 Batman show. Who do you play?
It was Colonel Gum.
Oh,
General Gum.
General Gum.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Except he has a mustache and
And significantly less pockets.
yeah, significantly less pockets.
Seriously, that thing has way too many pouches. That shirt's that coat is ridiculous. I have a jacket that has 7 pockets on it.
Oh, they're also those are also deep pockets too.
Yeah. They're like huge cargo pockets. My black jacket always wears 1, 2, 3, 6 pockets. No, 7 because there's an inside pocket. But they make sense. They're not too bulky or anything. He's literally got like he looks like my. He has he looks like a pack animal. That was my alarm, by the way.
I was wondering what that was.
I did not save it this time. A couple episodes back, we were in mid-conversation. I just took off running. And they're like, what happened? The alarm started to go off. I was able to catch it. Did not work this time. Yeah. He looks... that jacket's ridiculous. And that undershirt's just as crazy, too. It's almost looks like they took petrified rock and threw it on his chest. Which is a very specific look.
And I think it's fine. We're still talking about him. He's not even on screen, but he has like the pockets on his back too. The same deep pockets that are on his chest are on like right on his back.
Yeah, he has like it looks like they just like sit on his shoulders like almost a saddle bag, like 2 saddlebags on his shoulders, each shoulder. And he has the 2 pockets like down by his waist that open up to have more pockets on the inside. Like, it is ridiculous how many pockets this guy has.
And they're velcroed in.
Yeah, so you know they ain't going to stay shut forever. Do they ever explain how they stick
Tribbles
to
on the wall?
walls? Yeah, I was about to say, do they ever explain how they stick to the walls?
No,
I was just
actually
trying to figure that out.
Well, I put one on my head with some double stick tape, and one of the bloopers in the scene that's happening right now when Kirk gets his lunch out of the replicator, there's a Tribble that falls off the wall. It's like it trips and then falls. This scene also is rare for one of the few times you could actually see James Doohan's war injury.
Oh yeah, you do see it.
He was in World War II at the Battle of
his nub.
at the invasion in Normandy, and he got a finger shot off.
Yeah.
And they were very careful about hiding that fact. But when he's coming in with a double armload of Tribbles, you can actually see that one of his fingers is missing. That's his middle finger.
You see, you could explain it as like in continuity. He's an engineer. He put his finger where it shouldn't go. It got taken.
It got taken.
It got taken.
The prop department made 500 of these little monsters.
Holy crap!
500. When DS9 redid it, they did 1,800 of these things.
Oh, I bet they sold every bit of them
Oh
too.
my god.
Well, the original, the 1960s Tribbles are one of the most sought after bit props,
Mhm.
bits of memorabilia. One was sold at auction for over $6,000.
And there's 500 of
fuzzy
them.
little.
Jeez.
Um,
I'm shocked that
there's
there's only 500.
Yeah, there's only 500 of the originals. There were actually rarer props that weren't sold for that value. Um, one of the iconic scenes, which is showing up on our monitor now,
Yeah.
is when Kirk gets the hundreds of tribbles dumped on him. He looks a little on the pissed and sad and tired side
Yeah, I'm just done with
when he
these
comes
things.
out. They had to do that scene, or they did do that scene 8 times. He got those tribbles dumped on him 8 times. If he looks a little tired of dealing with tribbles, it's real.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, it
Yeah.
doesn't help that the occasional one keeps falling down and hitting him while he's trying to carry on the conversation about why there's so many tribbles.
yeah. When the scene was originally filmed, there were guys, prop guys, just trying to fill a bucket and throwing them in, and they were falling down into the scene at random. To justify this later, when DS9 redoes the episode, there's a bomb in a trip, and a couple of characters are scanning tribbles and then throwing them to the side as they do the scan, and that's the tribbles that are falling down on him as they're trying to find the bomb, throwing them over to the side. That's the tribbles that are falling on Kirk's head
That's funny.
as this goes on. And yes, go ahead.
No, I was about to ask.
And a pile of dead bodies.
Yeah, it was kind of gruesome that he's standing in a pile of corpses
Yeah.
for the most part. Even in the afterlife, they're cute. Freaking
I just keep seeing it's funny, I was seeing the random tribbles just hit him.
yeah, right. Like the very beginning, a big one hits him pretty good. Like it bumps his head a little bit, like he wasn't expecting.
Oh yeah,
it.
and like the back of the neck.
Yeah. Have they ever explained the reason for the color variation, or just
It's like any animal in nature.
genes?
They have a little bit of variation. One thing that's funny is in the animated episode, all of the tribbles are pink.
Mhm.
All of them are pink.
I
because
imagine they look like something from Dr. Seuss in the cartoon.
Yeah,
well, they
are.
do. They're just sort of
They
round
look like
balls.
the truffula trees.
That's what I was thinking. The truffula
They
trees.
do. They look like baby truffula trees. And the reason why they're pink was a joke on the producer. The producer was colorblind. He
Oh,
saw them all as gray,
that's
but
funny.
the art department drew them as pink
That's funny.
so that they could be something cute and fluffy and pink to play with. And it's one of several jokes that the art department pulled,
Earlier
was
you
to make
mentioned,
things pink.
Hang on.
Doggy. You mentioned that all the what designated the Klingons was the bad beards. Is it what was it with Star Trek and beards representing evil? Like you got the mirror universe and everyone has beards and they're evil, and you have Klingons whose beards represent evil.
You're stuck.
Was
Pirates, who knows?
Was it a social thing at the time? I mean,
Hi.
No.
Would you like to go to the
However,
Grammy and
in the late '60s, the establishment was clean cut and neat, and the anti-establishment was your long-haired hippie beardo freak.
You look a lot better.
So it might be a social thing, though it's never been directly
I did
discussed.
the stitches last night.
2 days early.
something I just never really thought about. Like,
Those are guidelines. It's kind of like
uh-oh, higher tribs.
Well, if your forehead pops open, I don't want to hear
Yeah,
it.
it's something
I don't want to see
didn't
it.
think about until just now when you mentioned the bad beard. If it was just a Star Trek thing as a whole, beards represent evil. Excuse me.
Middle of season 2.
It's interesting, like the idea of just doing the test. The Tribble test.
He's already been had all of them dumped on him.
It's a good way to, like, you would think that you'd use that more often as a security measure, like have a Tribble by the door. Just minding his business, feeding him occasionally.
It'd be easy to just put a scanner, because the way we actually know that a spy is a Klingon is through the use of a tricorder, a scanner. Easy to put that out. But yeah, you could just have a Tribble sitting in a cage by the door in an establishment, and if he gets angry, you know you're you got somebody coming in you may not necessarily want.
Yeah, you may investigate that one.
It's copper. I see
Jim,
copper.
it's a Klingon.
It's copper. Yeah, Mommy.
He looks
Daddy
familiar.
took
Like,
you out for walks
did he ever do
and
anything else? The spy?
Yeah.
Other than I know he is an actor who showed up. He did redo this character again
In the 30th?
later on in the 30th anniversary episode. Whether he's been in anything else we might have seen, I don't know. I'm doing some quick research. I usually know people who have shown up in Star Trek, not Star Trek actors who have been elsewhere.
Well, yeah, he looks familiar. He has one of those faces, I guess. And he's apparently afraid of Tribbles. Like, I understand, like, the great Klingon Tribble hunt, and but why do Klingons fear Tribbles? Like
it's not necessarily fear. It
just makes them uncomfortable.
One of the discussions about Klingons and Tribbles is the fact that Klingons have a smell that Tribbles can pick up on, and that's what makes them angry or react. And Klingons can smell Tribbles, and it offends them extremely badly. Whether that's true or not, it's never actually been discussed, other than the fact that Klingons really, really hate Tribbles.
So,
and the Great Tribble Hunt has shown up in the original comic books, the Deep Space Nine episodes, the J.J. Abrams comic books, and it has shown up in Star Trek Online.
Oh wow!
So this is a major issue that is really odd, and it's weird that such a small item would show up so much.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, what, the 1,700,000 that he has to pick up in the station would take him about 17 years. The Great Tribble Hunt was an extermination process, right? Okay. How long did that take?
The Klingons actually...
Well, I guess they had natural predators too, didn't they?
Oh, they had years, but the Tribbles were actually literally exterminated from the galaxy. They were rendered extinct by the Klingons after an 8-month campaign and destroying the Tribble homeworld. I mean, they were eradicated from the galaxy. It was only the actions of the DS9 crew that brought them back from beyond extinction.
Huh. So the Great Tribble Hunt takes place out. Oh yeah, that's right, because they transport the Tribbles to the Klingon ship, and then they just overpopulate from there. That's right.
Yeah, the Tribbles become an ecological disaster for the Empire, and they actually exterminate them. Not a living Tribble in existence anywhere.
That's funny. I like how Kurt was checking his seat just right there, making sure you didn't sit on anything, squish anything. I think it's strange that they're very reluctant to answer what they did with the Tribbles. I mean, yeah, obviously you can get in trouble because it's essentially an act of war, because biological warfare in a sense. But I feel like they would have been a lot more proud of it. But like, yeah, we did that, because you already know Kurt would be what should more than likely would have been pretty okay with it. He didn't like Klingons. He doesn't like Tribbles. He would have been happy to see them together, irking each other for who knows how long.
Well, in the novels, Koloth clears his ships by putting all of the Tribbles in his escape pods, dumps them into space in escape pods. He doesn't just beam them out, which would be a perfectly Klingon maneuver. One of the escape pods falls through a wormhole in space to the Delta Quadrant,
Okay.
where Tribbles are assimilated by the Borg.
I can
Oh
only
my
just
gosh.
imagine like a Tribble with like an iPod attached to it. Like what?
That's exactly what it looks like. It's a furry ball with a Borg eye patch on it and bands around it. And in the Star Trek Online game, they are a prized pet as the true only safe Tribble in existence.
Like that safe. Yeah, it's unlikely it will reproduce. But it also,
Yes,
to me,
could
would
you
be
assimilated.
Yeah, it could be
You could be
tracking
assimilated
device.
by a Borg Tribble.
That actually concludes the episode. It ends on a great high note. A great joke. Just it's not really a joke. It's just a little kind of
They get away with it.
yeah. They get away with it. That's it. Like, yeah, we did that. Whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of like. It is upsetting that they don't do more like comedy episodes like this, like or humorous, like more little lighthearted episodes, like this one. Because even though it is lighthearted, it does touch on interesting things like kind of like stereotypes and perceiving people, perception. Ever so slightly.
Well, it was directly different from the goal that Roddenberry was trying to do. This was actually trying to balance out heavier episodes, and it could not have run later in the show when they felt that it had finalized into serious science fiction with a serious message to go. And while this was such a departure from normal, it is actually probably the best received episode ever, always coming up in the top 5 in any favorites list, frequently coming out number 1. So, and I think if they'd done more comedy, it probably wouldn't have been able to hold that.
Mm-hmm.
But it is such an interesting concept.
Since I know Lindsay's seen at least a good chunk of the original, I already know your opinion, David and Colin. What do you think of the JJ movies, the Abrams movies, the J Drums? How do you feel about them? Me, I personally,
Well,
I like them. I think they stand alone very well.
I really enjoy them, but yeah, it's a great way to kind of tie it all together, I think. And it has reintroduced it into for the newer generations, you know.
Definitely.
Especially those who never got into it because maybe they didn't have the TV to watch it on or something.
Or the production.
It's a great
of,
way to kind of to introduce it to those who may not have had the chance to see it before.
Colin, you
I was gonna add in like maybe like also with the production quality, because I know even though the 4 of us will watch it anytime, that's what the Borg Tribble looks like.
Yeah, that's the Borg Tribble right there.
that's funny.
As I was
Messed up
saying,
all my
like with the
windows, but it was funny.
whole production quality of the '60s TV doesn't appeal to everyone else. So with J.J. Abrams directing these movies, it's a better way to introduce it to this new generation.
Definitely.
I definitely agree. I probably would not have gone back and watched some of the original stuff because I grew up on Next Generation, and so I'm a big Next Gen fan. Picard's the man, always will be.
Yeah,
I'm a big Picard guy.
I saw a lot of Next Generation before Abrams brought his films into the mix. I saw a little bit of classic, but it must not have aired very often. Whenever it was usually only when my grandpa was watching it that I would come across and watch the occasional episode or two.
Yeah.
But it was almost always Next Generation.
And it's funny because like when Batman '66 came out on what's one before on DVD, like Colin and I immediately like yes, we're getting that. Well, like without even thinking, because I definitely seen more original Star Trek than I did '66 Batman, and so I really don't know. Like it might have been just because I'm a Batman fan, the draw to coming like immediately. Yeah, I need to get that because it's part of Batman history. But I definitely like you can see like the quality difference because like what '73 is when Trek came out ish.
66 to 69.
Oh wow, not even close. You can definitely tell it was one of the first color TV shows because of all the bright poppy colors, especially like the Netflix picture for Tribbles. The background's bright pink or purple pink with a little bit of green.
Yeah.
And like you can tell like they were trying like, hey, we got color, check it out. But it's definitely a cool idea. I really do like it. Like we don't have these type of shows anymore, like that touch on things like this. Well, not we do, but they're not as big. Like the more popular shows are actually the thought-provoking shows that touch on like social issues are shifting to more like Netflix type shows, digital only type things. I've noticed, or bigger budgeted and on very specific like outlets like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is probably the better option because even though it's not doesn't touch on issues, it is a very big budget, very fanciful concept. And man, your screen sharing's messing everything up, David.
I'm trying to make it go away.
But that show, that and Walking Dead have taken over everything. Like Game of Thrones is so popular, and like I really do need to sit down and just watch all of it because what I've seen is good.
Yeah.
What I've seen is very good.
It's pretty amazing. Yes. Touching on what you were talking about with the bigger budgets and all of that, they have the ability to get better sets as well as better costumes, and you don't realize how much of the outside effect can actually affect and develop the characters as they go. I mean, a great actor, you can have a character with a bad actor, but you stick a convincing costume on them, and suddenly they're just that much better.
Yeah, they become more of that character, like that. Like you associate with that character, that personality, and you don't realize it's bad acting. So yeah, it does make sense. It is.
But with the Game of Thrones, since they have not only the awesome budget to take care of that, they also have the actors to pull it off.
Yeah.
I mean, they managed to get the best of everything there.
Yeah. Like for a while when
plus a great story.
When Game of Thrones and Walking Dead were coming out like weekly, it was just like a case of okay, who's going to die this week? That was the name of the shows. Like who's dying this week? Because they were both killing people off left and right. Bad. So.
Yeah.
This actually brings us to the end of the show. Other than I don't have really any final thoughts other than I like doing these commentaries, especially with somebody so knowledgeable and throw out factoids the way David does.
And it's always fun to just go back and watch. Or for me, it's fun to watch the '60s TV.
Oh yeah, like I grew up watching like TV Land and Nick and Night, so I love like
Yeah.
watching older shows like I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched,
Gilligan's Island.
Gilligan's Island. I can like it's weird because it's weird growing up like that with such old sitcom reruns that I can talk about things like that and like just briefly reference it and somebody would have no idea what I'm talking about. I was like, oh no, like I feel like I'm older. Like it makes me feel older than what I am. It makes me feel closer to your age. It really does. And I'm not even meaning that insultively. I mean like it makes me feel like, how do you not know about this?
It's like a weird, like you're right in the middle where you reference it to younger people, they have no idea what you're talking about. You reference it to older people, they understand what you're talking about, but they discredit you because you're younger than them.
Yeah.
You're like, you shouldn't know that. You're like, but I watched it.
Like
I should know. I know. Wait.
I Dream of Jeannie's theme is always stuck in my head. If I'm just like walking around the house, I do dun 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 dun, dun. Like it's always just like in my head. Like it is like permanently embedded into my skull. Like you know what it is?
It's pretty catchy.
Yeah,
You can't deny that. I mean,
it is catchy, but I think what it is, it came from the fact that my mom grew up watching stuff like that, and my dad grew up watching stuff like that, and so because they watched it, I watched it, and I guess I associate all that stuff with kind of like mother-son parent bonding experience, and so I do cherish, like I do have a affection for the older television shows, and I like seeing what like as things evolved, and I always have, like from music to art, I like seeing how things change over time. And TV, like American television, has this crazy like the way it changes over time is so crazy. Like the way it started with stuff like I Love Lucy, how just her being married to what's his last name?
Desi Arnaz.
Desi Arnaz. I was gonna say
Yeah.
a wall, but that's Lucy's name. Like that concept of her being married to a Cuban was crazy back then, and to me, it doesn't even phase me. Like it's just like like especially a Cuban. That I could see that being just a huge thing. Or the honeymooners where he's talking about beating his wife, but it's so lighthearted and so like it's not even like the way it's hidden in metaphor, and you don't even think about it. Like wow, he's seriously talking about beating his wife. One of these days, bam zoom to the moon. I don't know. I like old TV. I don't know what it is. It has to be that connection to my parents. I mean, I know
probably that's how I am with a lot of older PC games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sat down with my parents and played games with them on the computer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's similar concept.
Oh, that actually brings me up to closing news, something to wrap this things up with. So last week I mentioned that the Black Mesa website had a countdown to something, and on Tuesday, the world didn't end, so it wasn't that bad of a countdown. But Black Mesa was released on Steam, and it's $20, and it's such a beautifully polished game, and it's like I'm playing through it. I'm actually pretty far into it right now. And there's a section in Half-Life called On a Rail, and you're just on a train for the most part, driving around on a monorail and going through these tunnels and stuff throughout the facility. It's just the most tedious part of the entire game. Like that's the point where, like at that point, every time I get to that point playing it, I'm like, okay, I gotta stop playing because I'll just get angry. They've managed to cut that level down in a way that you don't even notice that they cut it down. Because I know Half-Life better than I do the back of my hand, and there's things like they change it up. And that's what's so great about this remake. It's the same game. Everything's there. All the big moments you remember are there, but they change everything. Like the layout's a little different, and so it's still a very fresh take on something you know, and it's nice. Like 'cause like all the key points, like oh, this is the part where the two soldiers are talking about you, and then you ambush them. that part's there, and how you get to that point is still there, but it's done differently, and it's amazing. They with the Steam release, they also added a multiplayer component, which is really cool. You have a create a character section to where you can adjust how you look and stuff like that, and it's just like Half-Life multiplayer. So it's very fast paced, very silly, lots of rockets going around, lots of chunks getting blown apart to pieces. I mean, I had a blast playing it. I was actually playing with one of the developers the other day. He hopped on one of the servers, and it was fun. I love that multiplayer. Like Half-Life is what got me into computers and games as a whole. So that game will always have a very important part to me. To see it being done so faithfully and so well, it makes me smile in the soul. And I highly recommend it to anyone who can run it on a computer, just to relive an old game in a new way. But with that said, there is a caveat. It's not done. The last 2 chapters of the game are not there yet. So you're literally paying $20 for an incomplete game, but you don't pay for any updates after that. All the updates will be free. It's an early access thing. Like, hey, this is what we got. How it's been polished. We know we're missing a chunk. We're trying to make it fun, because that area of the game, a lot of people don't like it. I love that part because the mechanics of the game change up a little bit. You're using alien weapons. Gravity's different. The whole visual aesthetics went from an Earth laboratory type thing to an alien world with floating platforms. It's a different dimension entirely, so things just don't apply. Like, they don't work the same, and that's why I like that part of the game. So that's the reason. They're trying to make it fun and enjoyable for everybody. That's all I got this week. Anything else from you guys?
No, I think I was just going in expecting a commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add.
What about you, David? I know you gotta get ready for work here soon.
Just be kind to your Tribble and don't overfeed.
That's pretty good advice. Since it's your catchphrase, every time you're here, I'll let you end it, because I ain't going to take your glory.
What little glory I got is to say goodbye. Thank you for having us. We hope you enjoyed being Hat.